Rule number 11. Market selection is a make or break decision. When you first decide that you want to build an internet business, you will have several possible ideas about products or services that you could create, as well as potential markets you could target. Think of a market as a group of people in a specific category who will have similar problems and needs. Selecting your target market is perhaps the most important early decision to consider when starting your business. If you pick the right market, you will have an easier time identifying the problems that your target audience faces. You will have scores of customers ready to purchase your product or service after you do some basic marketing. If you pick the wrong market, you will face an uphill battle every step of the way. Select a target audience in a growing market. By selecting an industry to target that is growing substantially in size, you will have an easier time attracting new customers. The easiest customers to acquire are those who have not already made a purchasing decision for the product or service that you offer. But you have to find them first and figure out where they congregate online. In order to identify your target audience, you must first decide who your ideal potential customer is. How old is your typical customer? What do they do for a living? What gender are they? Are they married? Where do they live? What are their interests? What problems do they face? How much money do they spend online? Create a range for your target demographic that is not too large and overreaching or so small that you limit your customer base. Once you have identified a target audience for your product, be careful not to build a new product or service in declining industries. You would never build a product or a service that targets video rental stores in 2014. Instead, you would plant your flag in fast-growing markets like smartphones and portable devices. As the saying goes, a rising tide raises all ships. When you're working in a growing market, your company and every other company in that industry will benefit from the growth. When you're evaluating different industries you might target, evaluate the industry growth trends to make sure you're not signing up to compete in a shrinking industry. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Select a small subset of a large industry that serve that subset well. There is a company in the city where I live called DokuTap. They set out to build a better electronic medical records or EMR software in the early 2000s. Instead of trying to offer their EMR software to every known category of medical provider, they decided to exclusively target urgent care clinics. They were able to target their EMR software to the specific needs of urgent care centers and have had great success as a result. While the urgent care industry did not exist 30 years ago, there are now more than 9,000 urgent care clinics in the United States. DokuTap skillfully selected a small but fast-growing subset of the healthcare industry and served them very well. While you may not be thinking about creating a software company that has 200 employees, the lesson still applies. Focus your efforts to better serve your target group. For example, do not create an online community for athletes. Instead, create an online community for barefoot runners in cold climates. Do not create a business that provides editing services to authors. Create a business that provides editing service to self-published non-fiction authors who write about business and entrepreneurship. When you try to create a business that serves everyone, you tend to build a service that serves no one. Sell to people who are willing to buy. Find a target audience who has money and is willing to buy the products and services you offer. Ideally, you'll find a group of people who already buy a product or service on a regular basis. That way, you can just do the work needed to convince them to buy from you the next time they're going to purchase that product or service. Selling to a cash-strapped target audience or an audience who's used to getting stuff for free is not serving your best interests. For example, you are probably not going to have much luck selling to college students. While you may have the best product or service in the world for them, you're not going to be able to stay in business because they will not have the extra money to spend on you. You also want to be careful not to select a brand new business idea that no one is doing. If you have no competitors, it could be a sign that the market you want to enter into is not a valuable market to be in. When you start a new business category from scratch, you have to inform your potential customer about your product or service. Persuade them through advertising that they need your product or service, and then convince them to trust you. This is an uphill battle you do not need to fight when you're first starting out on your own. Initially, it is easier to plug in to an existing market of customers who are already buying from someone else. When I built my press release distribution service, Lightning Releases, I found a target audience who had money and who were currently buying press release distribution services from other companies on a regular basis. I did not have to convince people to buy press release distribution services because they already knew that they wanted to send their press releases out to a wide network of media outlets. I only had to create a value proposition for my service that made my target audience want to use my company instead of a competitor the next time they had a press release to send out. Lightning Releases was able to carve out a small portion of the press release distribution market by offering distribution services to authors, small nonprofits, and private companies that did not want to spend $400 to have each press release sent out one of the big name firms. By offering a wide distribution network at an affordable price point, Lightning Releases was able to sell approximately 1,500 releases at $100 each in its first year of operation. Select a market you know and understand. Finally, build a product or a service for a market where you have background knowledge and possibly experience. You could leverage knowledge you have gained from one of your hobbies or a prior place of employment. Maybe you already know several people in the market where you want to start your business and can ask them for feedback and advice. The key is to have a working knowledge of a particular market before you try to serve that market. When you pick out a market that you know nothing about, you make yourself prone to a lot of rookie mistakes. You may misread the market and build a product or a service that no one actually wants. You may get your pricing entirely wrong. There may already be a solution for the problem you're trying to solve, or your target audience may not see the problem you perceive as a problem at all. By having a working knowledge of your potential audience and market, you are prepared to sell more successfully to consumers who are willing to buy. Action steps. Make a list of all the markets you understand or have experience with that have the potential to be consumers of your product or service. Identify which of those markets are growing and which are shrinking. Create a list of potential subsets of each growing market on your list that you can target.